Whether you're doing by yourself or with the team, Ark or Dead Island is really one of the most dangerous franchises of all time. And I know the Ark Dragon video was supposed to drop, but again, I'm having some trouble with the whole, I guess, gathering information. So today, we're really going to talk about this here. So it's actually going to be pretty simple, and, I do hope you guys enjoyed this video. Now, we're going to be basing this off 5 things, okay? And believe it or not, it's really going to be simple. Just 5 sections. Some of them are going to be short. Some of them are going to be longer, so bear with me. And we're going to base it off of these 5 things that, honestly, I think is pretty simple and pretty important when it's in a survival scenario. But before we really get into that, and before I really explain the rules of this here, we're actually going to just set some ground rules for just you. All right, you and your team. So the characters you are going to be surviving with for this analysis is going to be quite obviously the Total Drama crew, and this is because they are the most, I'd probably say, the most reasonable crew I could use. They're not too overpowered and they're not too dysfunctional, so obviously they'll be on the top 10, best and worst teams to survive with, and they will be in the best category. So I'll be doing the worst and then I'll be doing the best. So yeah, and believe it or not, you are actually going to have to go through, or basically I am going to be analyzing, I should say. Excuse me, I might need a drink after this. But yeah, I'm going to be analyzing just simply these 5 things. Number 1, the environment. We're going to see how the environment plays into a factor. If your likeliability to trip, your likeliability to die from the environment itself, which is not too crazy and everything, steep falls, cliffs, and everything. Then we're going to analyze the creatures, who's got the most dangerous out of them, and who has the more, I guess you could honestly say, the more proactive creatures, the ones that are a little bit more active than the others. Plus, we are going to be looking at Ark from a more realistic standpoint than a gaming one as well. So this means creatures will likely be able to track you down based on your scent. By the way, for the Ark one, you are not going to be allowed to tame these creatures either. So yeah, that we're just gonna nerf that entirely, because again, the whole thing with survival is that I like to make this as fun and as dangerous for you as possible, but you will be allowed to build and craft weapons and stuff like that, so you'll have fun with that. Next off, your death rate. How likely or how many times do I think you are likely to die in this environment? And then obviously with the whole no respawn thing, how likely is your team to die as well? And then we'll be concluding off with how, well, which environment or which one is the most dangerous to survive, in all honesty. So which one you have a better chance against. So with that being said, please comment down below, like and subscribe and share with your friends. And now let us begin. Oh wait, almost forgot, we are going to be using the island for Ark as well, and we are going to be using the current up-to-date game, meaning the creatures such as Dinotherium, Acrocanthosaurus, Deinosuchus, and the likes of Zephactinus and Brachiosaurus, which is pretty much coming to the game anyway, so I don't really see a problem with it as well. And also, yeah, Ceratosaurus as well, considering it's added to the vanilla game anyway. So we'll be adding all of those creatures, and yeah, we'll also take away, and to kind of give you guys a bit of a fair chance so we don't really have to discuss whether a Giga is roaming around the environment or not, we'll take away the Giga and the Karka. So the strongest creatures on there will be the Rex, Acro, and Spino. So just get a little bit of fairness and stuff like that as well. So with that being said, please comment down below, like and subscribe and share with your friends. Oh, well, I guess for Dead Island 2, I guess since we are taking away the head honcho of that one, we will be taking away the Dirge for that one and the Clotters. So now, without further ado, let us begin. Starting off, we have the environment, both the island and whatchamacallit, LA, or Los Angeles, if you will. Both of these environments have their solid contributors to what makes them dangerous. For LA, it could be the crowded streets, the amount of obstacles, locked buildings, and stuff like that. Maybe even destroyed structures and debris, also being in electrical outlets that have fallen upon the street as well. So you have some decent areas where you could die. However, the island as well also has these areas. For starters, it's a much more smoother and definitely one of the much more grounded environments, if you will. You can tell if there's a cliff, you can tell if there's a ledge and stuff like that. And the only reason why you should be even able or even getting close to falling over the edge should be because you were running from another creature. That is the only way about it. And even then, there are places you can actually hide and areas where you really don't have that many dangerous creatures or creatures that'll be out to kill you. And honestly, the journey to making it to these areas can be very difficult, and even still, a dangerous creature could just wind up popping in your area because they find this to be a very good territory. So there are some ways that can still, the environment can come back to bite you. But logically speaking, I don't think you and your group will be going anywhere if you guys didn't have to. Let's just be real here. The Ascended map as well is one of the more, I would probably say also a very grounded environment. You don't get too many dangerous areas. However, I would definitely say there are a bit more rocky areas. There are a bit more, I guess you could say, what's the word I'm looking for? I guess you say areas that are more cluttered than the original. The jungles as well can provide a decent coverage as well, at least an escape from certain predators, and likely using the dense foliage to kind of get away, maybe get a a dinosaur stuck in there as well. But moving on to LA or Hele, the environments here are much more less stable, and there are a couple parts you can just honestly avoid, to be honest. Now, in terms of the normal areas like the districts and I guess you could say the inner cities and stuff, there are a lot of obstacles. For starters, the more city-like area where the Haplin or the what's it called, the mall is or whatever, that does have a giant splint in the middle of the road with a lot of electrical feedback. And this is because power outlets were pretty much crumbled and simply downed in the area. However, most of the time the streets and alleyways are clear, okay? You don't really have much to worry about except a few areas where there are areas you can trip, you can fall. And while fall damage isn't too much in Dead Island 2, while it was in Dead Island 1, you do have pretty much your safety areas more, I guess you say, more often than not. And in all honesty, I think this is pretty much a safer environment, to be honest. You have a lot more buildings you can hide out in. You have a lot more areas where you could pretty much juke zombies and inadvertently sometimes might get yourself into certain situations. You have areas where you can lock them down and close them up. You can easily get into somebody else's house and pretty much barricade yourself in there for right now to kind of stave off some of the zombies and kind of live your life peacefully. But then there are areas where you cannot do that, areas where you are way too vulnerable. Going to these areas would definitely be a certain death trap as well. And then you also have the fact that some of these areas may actually have, supplies and stuff like that. For example, the Venice Beach is one of the most supply-rich depots or one of the supply-rich areas if you know how to use it correctly. There are many food marts and stuff like that that likely have not been infected. There are many areas where you could easily hold yourself down and lock yourself away from the zombies. So you have a lot more than that than you really do with Ark. So in terms of environmental dangers or environmental contributes and stuff like that, I would definitely have to say Ark takes it right there, or environmental dangers, I should say. Ark definitely takes it, as there are far less places to hide from these creatures and from these dinosaurs, I should say. And then you also have just the open water, which could be, an outlet for some and also a danger for yourself as well. As come on, who's going to jump in the water to avoid a Spinosaurus? One of your teammates is possibly going to do it and just kind of have the Spino look at them like, oh, great, so my prey is stupid. So, yeah, I guess we got to deal with that. But let's move on. Now we get into the fun part, the creatures of the environment as well. Which one are you most likely to die by more often than not? The dinosaurs or the zombies, right? So, without further ado, let's talk about it. Starting off with Dead Island 2, you have multiple zombie variants that honestly contribute to, well, you dying or you being infected. Either way, something's gonna get you at the end of the day. But when it comes to the dinosaurs of Ark, you mainly have those that are just simply going to eat you or kill you because you pissed them off. So I would recommend not pissing off a Bronto or a Trike or a Mammoth or a Stegosaur. Yeah, don't piss off anything that can kill you or has a lethal weapon. But some of these creatures, we're going to name the ones that will hunt you down and kill you. For starters, we have Ark's Raptors. Now, these guys are obviously some of the early danger points for anyone, but they're also some of the first starting points for actually getting a pretty strong and powerful team. Now, Ark's Raptors are by far I think one of my favorite OG teams next to the Spinosaurus. But again, these guys are not only pack coordinated hunters, but are capable of pouncing on you and pinning you down, and then they just start tearing into you. So yes, the Raptors are definitely going to be a problem, and considering their speed as well, you can't really outrun them. Best you can do is likely just hope they don't come towards your base. Next up, we have the Carnotauruses. Yeah, you cooked. I think the only way you could easily avoid a Carnotaurus is just simply by running, considering they're not as fast as the Raptors, and considering the fact that, well, they do have a low stamina rate, so it's very possible you could outrun them before they even get you, especially if you get a head start and you're able to get into a deep body of water where they won't even be able to get you at that point. However, Baryonyx is just simply a no-go on that. Not only is it faster than the Raptors and the Carnotauruses as well. Well, probably just fast as the Carnotaurus, faster than the Carnotaurus, but not the Raptors. This thing can get into the water and just simply stun you, then proceed to have its way with you. No diddy. But the fact that the Baryonyx is easily capable of doing this, the best you can really do is avoid any water areas that simply have them. Because once that happens, you're basically cooked at that point. I mean, you can't outrun it. You really can't outswim it. Best you can do is just pray and just hope it doesn't find you. Speaking of the water itself, the piranha is going to be one of the first few, if not one of the biggest pains in the environment. While they are simple to get away from, especially if you're crossing, shallow water points and stuff like that, if you are crossing larger water points and they're more in the inland coastal areas, they are going to be a huge problem, considering the fact that piranhas themselves have always been one of the biggest, what's the word I'm looking for, detriments to Ark players when it came to early progression. These guys go in swarms and they start tearing into you, and well, with them being in groups, they'll simply do a lot more damage. You might ask, okay, are you going to mention the Megalodons? No, because you're not really going to be going through deep body waters unless you're actually going into deep body waters to get resources and materials, which I don't know why. Now let's move on to the Caprosuchus. You know good and well somebody's going to get it. You know one of your teammates is going to get Capro too, and you have the possibility to get one as well. Now, considering the fact that the Capro, you can just simply stab it in the eye or simply clunk it to death, I think it's more than safe to say that you should be able to get away from a Capro, especially if you know it's in the area. However, once you're in that grip and it starts chewing on you and starts dragging you to the water, yeah, you're basically good at that point. Yeah, it's over. Yeah, you already lost. There's nothing you can do, and it's kind of just like a whole you have to accept your fate kind of moment. It's just you're done at that point unless you have a decent spear or a crossbow where you could just shoot it up in the head and stuff. Next off, we have the Therizino. Yeah, this giant chicken here, or tickle chicken, is pretty much going to be the death of you. There's no way you're telling me these things are not going to be one of the biggest banes in Ark, especially even in the beginner eras where they appear. These guys are massively aggressive and will chase you down relentlessly. So there's really no point in even getting into that. Next up, we have Sarcos. Now, Sarcos, believe it or not, are some of the most unpredictable when they spawn. You could actually be in one of the coastal areas thinking you're safe and all that, and then next thing you know, boom, a Sarco appears. Now you're reconsidering your base options and wonder if you have to move up inland or if it's going to choose to move there as well. Same thing with Dinosaurs, and this one is far worse. You're really not going to be able to match this thing. This thing can honestly one-shot you with a basic bite, and if it gives you a gigabyte, well, yeah, consider your days numbered. If not, just consider yourself one step earlier in the grave as well. And considering the fact that the best way to get away from these guys, both the Sarco and Dinosaurs is pretty much on land. Keep in mind they do have a very quick lunge attack that can pretty much get anyone. But I think the biggest danger to you on the island is definitely the Spinosaurus. They might say, oh, well, why not the Rex and the Aqua? Well, the Spinosaurus actually inhabits the waterways, which you and your team are going to be using, especially considering the fact that they are fish eaters. But they do not shy away from eating other creatures as well, which would include you. Now, the Spinos themselves are pretty easy to avoid. They have a certain radius where they will start attacking you because of, you having these water areas and stuff like that. Or basically because you have to be really near their water in order to, get attacked. But even then, after a certain point, they will leave you alone. So this kind of just establishes that they will leave you alone at a certain point. Now, when it comes down to that, I think the art creatures are not so bad after all. But let's talk about the Dead Island zombies. Everything there wants to eat you or just infect you and make you become one of them. It's a lose-lose situation here. Now, believe it or not, the best way I can actually see this, or best way I can actually organize this, is by the simple category. For the walkers, you have your basic zombies, which simply will walk after you, and then you'll be able to kill them. Same thing with the shamblers. However, things get more dangerous when you start seeing the more mutated infected variants, such as the swarm walker, which actually utilizes a hive of bees to attack you. Then you have the shock walker, which actually uses an electric ability inside of its body to actually attack you as well. But then you have the special breed as well. Also, you have the ones that carry grenades on them because they were ex-military or former military men that got infected. But then you have the bursters, the vicious butchers, and the screamers. The butchers are likely going to be the biggest danger to you as an entire basis here. These guys are fast, they're able to climb as well, and they're able to launch rapid strikes and even block bullets. Yeah, these guys are absolutely no joke. The Whipper as well is a problem because she can at least strike you from over a distance. But again, she damages herself, so it's very possible she would eventually fall to like any other excess damage. But then you have the mutators that are stronger and a bit tougher than the crushers. The mutators honestly can get you by looking like a regular walker, but then bam, transform into something more grotesque and unholy altogether. But then you have the crushers as well. Now, the crushers are a special kind of infected that pretty much have this unnatural level of strength where they're able to not only cause earthquakes, but even bust down certain defenses. However, their benefit is that they cannot climb, unlike the butcher, so you kind of have that as well. However, any form of super infected actually comes in the infernal ones. Now, the infernal infected and the slobbers as well, which are basically vomiting projectiles of fire, the caustic X, which means basically entire acid, and then you have the ones that fire bloodborne leeches that'll explode and cause you to bleed as well. So yeah, you have those variants as well. And well, the ones that have fire enhancements or fire-based attacks are capable of burning you with their touch. Kind of obvious, but again, they're also able to cause these fire shock waves as well, especially with the crusher variant. So you kind of have that. Then you have zombies that are basically bleed based, that pretty much cut through you with glasses, barbed wires, and stuff like that. So this means that touching them or using like close range things is just not going to be beneficial for you. So you're going to have to likely keep your distance mostly. But again, the game does offer a wide variety of versatility. And keep in mind with these infected as well, I really don't think I should have to remind you, but this is just in case, they will, you're going to get hit by one of these. Unless you're like really careful and really agile, you might get cut a couple times. But again, it's really about the infection itself that'll take place. Can you avoid being infected more than can you avoid being killed? So considering the environments of both sides as well, and the fact that you have to avoid them, the infection or the zombies can be kept out by stronger barricades like healthy doors and, healthier barricades and stuff like that. You can even build spike walls to keep all these creatures out your base. So believe it or not, I do think it is pretty much safe to say here that you can survive an arc and even keep some of the creatures away, the same way you can do with Dead Island. However, which creatures or which ones do I think are deadlier to you? and your team. Believe it or not, I do think because you're in a much larger group and you have to kind of like maintain it, I think the infected are a lot more dangerous than the arc dinosaurs. Because here's the thing, right? At least when an arc dinosaur gets you, it can, at least leave a cut and you don't really have to worry about it too much. I mean, sure, that's still blood loss and everything, but you don't have to worry about the risk of infection. Now, the risk of infection and becoming a zombie, I do feel like is far greater than being killed by an actual arc dinosaur. At least you know you're going to die with an arc dinosaur and they are going to just simply eat you and be about their day. But with the infected, even if you get away, you could likely still get eaten, or you still get infected and become a zombie. So yeah, I'm gonna have to give it to the zombies this round. So now we're on resources, and this one I'm kind of gonna focus more on weapons, considering the fact that food, water, and shelter from both sides was kind of explained already. In Dead Island 2, you can pretty much get any location as long as it's pretty secure. And there were a lot of secure houses in that. I feel like a lot of people didn't notice. And then Ark, there's a lot of safe places you can actually build, whether it's close to the sea where you can make your escape, or basically more inland areas where you're well protected and well guarded, with the occasional trike and parasaur occasionally strolling into your base. And hopefully you just don't get a raptor or Dinosuchus or even a Sarcosuchus at your coastal waters. So yeah, it's kind of less like 50-50, but let's really talk about weapons here. Now, considering the fact that you will likely get basic weapons, as in order to get the other weapons, you would likely have to level up and then, boss hunt. Yeah, we're not going to put you through that, because I would never go into the boss arena without any creature. Like, or any army or creatures. Like, it's just a no for me, I'm just saying. But with that being said here, yeah, I think when it comes to weapons, I think that Dead Island definitely has the better melee weapons. Now, hear me out. You could like say it's a game mechanic, game for Ark and stuff like that, but their melee weapons are highly advanced. However, their shooting weapons are just next level. I mean, imagine literally firing a photon or a black hole. But again, let's focus on certain things here. Shotguns, rifles, and turrets, all in Ark. Right? Those would actually be perfect fundamentals for you and your group to set up. Not only because this gets you like free food, especially if you like accidentally kill a creature or a creature gets too close to your base and you just, gun them down. This also means you actually get a decent way to protect your base. And keep in mind, they also go through water like pretty easily, so you'll be able to kill like sea creatures that pretty much come to your base, unless they're like I guess you could say in a certain area or in a certain radius, right? But with that being said, yeah, they actually get the job done quite easily, in my opinion, quite effectively as well. You really don't see too many problems when turrets are involved in terms of Ark. And then you have your rifles, you have your flame arrows, your trank arrows, and your standard arrows as well. You have your bolas, your net guns, your harpoons, your trank darts, shocking trank darts, and stuff like that. And then you also have flamethrowers, and I believe there's one laser you can actually craft, but I forgot what it was. I think it was introduced in Genesis Part 2, I believe. So let me know down below which one that was. You also have your grapples and, your hooks as well, so yeah, you got plenty of that. Meanwhile, with Dead Island, you have more melee-based weapons. So you have axes, swords, knives, batons as well, and then you can augment them to what you need. Even with simple rifles, you can also augment them to the point where they can even cause things like burning, bleeding, poison, or it's not poison, acidic damage, and etc. Okay, even electrocution and stuff like that. So you have a plethora, and I mean a plethora of weapons to actually get the job done. So believe it or not, I honestly you could have this as a tie, and I would not be, objective to say that. Dead Island takes melee, and Ark takes long-range weapons quite easily. We're at my favorite part, the death rate. Okay, maybe that didn't sound as good as I thought it was in my head, but what's gonna kill you more often, or kill you or your teammates more often, right? So, basic Ark or the zombie apocalypse? But what's likely to kill you? The runners or the raptors? The walkers or The possibility of you pissing off a trike with a baby and then getting jumped by said trike family. The Carno, the Allo, the Baryonyx, and the Spino. Or the surprise Caprasuchus that just decided to hunt you that day. The possibility of getting eaten by a piranha. Or being crushed by a crusher zombie. Mutilated by a mutilator. Or, well, butchered by a butcher. So many incredible ways you could die. And then you got the one that just somehow pissed off a Bronto, looks at you, and then it tail whips you. I'm not sure how you got that far. I'm not even sure how you even managed to piss off a Bronto, but congratulations, you're the dumbest person alive. But with that being said here, what do I think is more likely to kill you more often than not? Well, believe it or not, because of the environment and because of the dangers, I would definitely have to say that you are likely to die by an Ark creature. Yeah, I don't think that's really surprising, because the possibility of one of your teammates, having a bad mood or something, maybe someone ain't throwing them, no action or nothing or something like that, and then they decided to grab a rock, throw it, and it hits a baby trike that runs to his mom, and then the mama, the papa, the uncle, and the cousin all looking at you like, hey, bro, you about to die today. I just hope you understand what's gonna happen to you. You about to get gored 7 ways, penetrated from all angles, no diddy. I hope you understand that your time has come. Or they throw it to a Bronto. The Bronto turns around, tail whips you, and then all of a sudden, you're halfway in the sea getting eaten by megalodons. Yeah, it's just not looking good for you, buddy. It's just not. Or someone tries to explore the swamp, feeling a little bit cheeky. The next thing you know, they get bitten by a Titanic ball, and then they try to run, and a Caprosuchus comes to get you. Yes, I've had that happen to me before. Shut up. But yeah, it's it ain't fair. It really isn't. You are more than likely to die by one of these Ark dinosaurs than you are to the zombies. Because again, they can't get through certain defenses and can't climb like certain things. So you're honestly good in certain areas, especially when it comes to like the butcher and stuff like that. The screamer will disorientate you, and then you have the shock screamer, which will disorientate you and electrocute you. But again, you can shoot them in the throat from a distance and silence them. So you should be good on that one. But with Ark Dinos, there's no guarantee that first bullet's going to work. There's a small guarantee your trap's going to work. You might even get killed looking for supplies for the group. Compared to Dead Island, where you can at least know the zombies are coming after you, you're going to get stalked by a whole velociraptor you wouldn't even notice until it decides to like pounce on you and get you. Even the same with like an Allosaurus, but at least you can hear the footsteps, right? But oh, you still got to run from it, so that's not going to work out. At the end of the day, I definitely got to give it to the Ark Dinos on this one, because there are more ways for you to die. Now, the end is near. And so we come to our conclusion. Ark definitely takes the environment. Dead Island takes the creatures with a high difficulty. In terms of weapons and resources, they have a draw. And in terms of death rate, Ark takes it again. So this means that, well, Ark actually wins more often than not. It's actually... yeah, I think it was actually kind of expected at this point that it was gonna take it at the end of the day. I mean, you still got to worry about other creatures. Even if you admit you can get away from most of them, there's still some things you're gonna run into that you may not want to. Rexes, Acros, Alphas. I didn't even mention the Alphas. The possibility of an Alpha Raptor showing up near your area. Yeah, that's still a pretty high risk as well. In all honesty, I do think there are some ways you can survive Ark as well and pretty much get away from any sort of danger, to be honest, and even find good areas for it. However, when it comes down to which one is harder to survive, I think I would, in all honesty, this may sound even crazy. I mean, either one sounds crazy. Which one you even prefer, right? But believe it or not, I think it would actually be less risky to be in Dead Island 2's Zombie Apocalypse than in Ark Survival Evolves Island. And in all honesty, I think that is. Because again, the constant danger, the constant carnivores and herbivores that will kill you, like again, the fairy, will actively run at you and try to kill you. It's absolutely ridiculous. Like, dude, I didn't even do anything to you. You're supposed to be one of the like, a peaceful herbivore. But again, I guess having the strength that rivals T Rex comes with its own benefits, right? But yeah, the fairy will kill you. The Spinos are probably one of the biggest threats on the island. Because again, remember we took away the Giga and the Card just to make it kind of a bit more fair and stuff like that. And the thing is, I don't really logically see any of you or your teammates going towards the Redwoods unless someone says they can cut through here. Who the heck is going to cut through some steep behind woods? I'm not going through there. Like, listen, the moment you see something on the tree and realize that's a thylacoleo, I'm turning right back around the way I came. But you got to do it. Listen, I will fight that Sarco and that Capro, then face that Wolverine in a tree. I ain't getting the whole Wolverine treatment. If you play Marvel Rivals, you understand. But again, with Dead Island, at least you can beat the Butcher. At least you can catch it. At least you can, well, not catch it with your bare hands, but at least you can like see it in time to actually react to it. And then at the very least, you can also, lure it into traps, lock it behind a door to a shelter, and then set that place on fire. You can at least do that. But with something like these Rexes that are just abnormally stronger than the original and even abnormally bigger, I might add. Everything in Arc is like times 10 minus the Dilos, which in all honesty is kind of funny in my opinion. But yes, at the end of the day, gotta give it to Arc, and you guys have a blessed day.